Let's discuss the law of reflection. So before we talk about reflection itself, we must recognize that there are two types of light sources in existence. We have natural light sources, which emit their own light, such as the sun or other stars, and fire. And on another hand, there are also artificial sources of light, such as light bulbs, or the moon or other planets which reflect light from the sun. So light emitted from a light source is incident upon an object, and then it's reflected by that object, and it is registered by the human eye. However, not all of the reflected light can be registered, so only light that is directly incident upon the eye is going to be seen. Light that is reflected from objects but does not fall onto the eye cannot be seen. And so we only can see objects that are actually in front of us or in our field of vision, and we cannot see objects that are behind us since the reflected light does not fall onto our eyes. So how do objects reflect light? Well, so the reflected light is diffused. What does that mean? So initially, a light beam will be incident upon the surface of an object, and for simplicity, we are going to assume that the light beam is nice and parallel, so we say that it is collimated. But after reflection, the light rays inside the beam are scattered, and they are no longer parallel to each other. They are diffused. So we say that this reflection is diffused reflection. And so here is an example of such collimated beam, which consists of many parallel light rays. Here is one indicated with an arrow. And so the surface of the object from which this light beam is going to reflect is not perfectly smooth. And so when the individual light rays hit the surface, each of them is going to reflect at a random direction, and as a result, the reflected light will not be collimated. It will not consist of light rays that are parallel to each other. And this is good because if the reflected light was completely made from parallel light beams, like so, then that means that in order to see the reflection from this object, we must be exactly in the way of the reflected light beam. And if we are not going to see the object. While when the light is reflected, diffused like that, then we can see the entire object pretty easily. So now let's talk about the law of reflections, how light rays are reflected from the surface of an object. So here we have a schematic drawing of the process of reflection of a light ray from the surface of a mirror. So we have an incident light ray, which is coming from the left, and this light ray is going to hit the surface of the mirror at an angle which we call the incident angle. This angle is measured from an imaginary line that is perpendicular to the surface of the mirror, which we call the normal. So the angle of incidence is the angle between the incident light ray and the normal. This is the angle of incidence. Okay, so after reflection, the light ray is going to propagate away from the surface, and the angle which the reflected light ray makes with the normal is known as the angle of reflection. And here you can see an actual image of different light rays with different colors reflecting from the surface of an object. And so, from experiment, people have determined that the angle of reflection is equal to the angle of incidence, and that is the statement of the law of reflection.